Well, hello everybody. Yes, this is audio only because, well, I didn't fix my hair, so I didn't think you guys wanted to see me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm doing audio only because we've been having some troubles with YouTube. Apparently, my face has been copyrighted and our YouTube channel keeps on getting flagged because of it. This has happened 2 weeks in a row, and last week I couldn't get a live stream out at all. So if you get more than 3 flags, I think our YouTube channel gets all messed up. So we don't want to do that. So Josh and I got together and we figured that audio only would be the best way to prevent that from continuing to happen. So hopefully my voice isn't copyrighted as well and we don't get flagged and we can continue with this study. So just a recap of the last time that we met, which was 2 weeks ago. We discussed Moses' first act of obedience to God and how the people responded in a pretty negative way. And sometimes in ministry or in leadership, people do not respond the way we expect them to. And this is why we must draw our affirmation from God and not people, because people never fill us up. Only God can do that. So this week we're going to be continuing our study of Exodus, and we are going to be in Exodus chapter 6, verse 1 through 8. So I will go ahead and read that. And verse 1 says, "Then the Lord said to Moses, 'Now you shall see what I will do to Pharaoh. For under compulsion he let them go, and under compulsion he will drive them out of his land.' God spoke further to Moses and said to him, 'I am the Lord, and I appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as God Almighty, but by my name, Lord, I did not make myself known to them. I also established my covenant with them to give them the land of Canaan, the land which they sojourned. Furthermore, I have heard the groaning of the sons of Israel, because the Egyptians are holding them in bondage, and I have remembered my covenant. Say therefore to the sons of Israel, I am the Lord, and I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians, and I will deliver you from their bondage. I will also redeem you with an outstretched arm and with great judgments. Then I will take you for my people, and I will be your God, and you shall know that I am the Lord your God, who brought you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians. I will bring you to the land which I swore to give to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and I will give it to you for a possession. I am the Lord.'" So I can't help but to put myself in Moses' shoes right now. And I can't imagine to think like how Moses is feeling, like in this moment after hearing these words from God. See, Moses grew up learning about the Hebrews and the culture and the stories of times past. He grew up learning about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and all their adventures and all the promises that God gave them. And just a little recap in case you guys don't know who Abraham, Isaac, or Jacob are. Abraham is a man of great faith. He is a man who followed God when God just appeared in the sky and spoke to him. He didn't see God, he just heard God speak to him. And God said, "Go, take your family to a place I will show you. You'll have a land, and you will have descendants as countless as the stars, and through you I'll make a great nation." So Abraham got his family, and he took Lot. He wasn't supposed to take Lot, and there's some hiccups there and some problems, Sodom and Gomorrah, different places like that. And I won't get into that now, but just focusing on Abraham's faith, he went and he took his family, and he followed God. And then he had a son named Isaac. And the son Isaac was born from Abraham and Sarah in their old age. They're around 100 years old. So it was quite the miracle, because they weren't able to have any kids up to this point. They kind of given up hope. Sarah definitely gave up hope when she heard God tell Abraham, "You're going to have a son." She laughed. And so that's where Isaac got his name. But Isaac was also supposed to be sacrificed, but he was spared. And it was a test of Abraham and Isaac's faith at that time. Then after Isaac, there was Jacob. And Jacob is the man who wrestled God and was given the name Israel. And Jacob had 12 sons who will be known as the 12 tribes of Israel. No, I'm not going to name all 12 of those. If you want to know those, you can look them up yourself. But that is who Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is. And so back to Moses, he's thinking of these stories that he was told and the adventures of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But each one ends with God promising them land and a nation from their descendants, and that they would also be God's chosen people. Now, where Moses is right now, God is telling Moses, you are going to be my instrument to fulfill these promises to the stories that you grew up with, that you grew up learning. And I just can't help but just to think the awe that Moses is in right now, or maybe how he's feeling that he is unworthy to do this, or he's not able to do this, and someone better could be doing this job, someone better than Moses. And I think about myself. And I was fortunate enough to grow up in a Christian home with a family that believed in God, and we went to church and we read our Bible together. And I remember earliest memories I have is my dad and I would read the Bible together, and I would have questions and he would answer them, and then afterwards would wrestle. So it was always a lot of fun right before going to bed, be able to read the Bible and learn about Jesus and different stories, and also wrestling my dad. Of course, he always beat me in wrestling, but might be different now. I'm older. But something I always remembered is Jesus is coming back. Throughout each story of Jesus, it doesn't stop at Jesus dying on the cross. It always continues, and the apostles continue talking about Jesus coming back. Be ready for the day that he's coming back. And how that's a time that us Christians should really look forward to Christ's return. And what's going to happen is God's going to come back, and he's going to create a new earth, and it's going to be a paradise, a place where there's no more pain, no more suffering, no more tears, no more sin. It's just going to be perfect. It's what we strive for in this earth, but we can never get. Why? Because there's sin. And then the sad part about Christ's return also, that I don't like to talk about it, but it's something that we have to talk about, is those who aren't Christians. They aren't going to be looking forward to Christ's return. They're not looking for Christ's return because they don't believe in Jesus. But what happens with them is they'll be forever separated from God and will be in their destination of hell. And that's not a place that I want anyone to go to, especially not any of you all listen, or any of you all in the youth group, not even enemies of mine, people I don't like. I wouldn't wish hell on them. And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here as a minister, and that's why I'm here telling you guys about the gospel, because I'm hoping to share the gospel with people who don't know Jesus, and I hope that they come to know Jesus. And I hope that you guys also will start sharing the gospel and telling your friends, your family, about Jesus, so they can get to know Jesus and be with us all on the new earth and the paradise that awaits for us. Now, I want us to change our mood a little bit. We talked about a little sad thing. Let's put on our imagination caps, all right? Let's let our minds wander for a little bit. So Jesus came to this earth roughly 2,000 years ago, and he said he'll be coming back to judge the world. Those who are Christians will be with him in paradise, and those who are not Christians will be in hell. The apostles, a little after Jesus, they wrote the New Testament, and they dedicated their whole lives to preaching the gospel and preparing the world for Christ's return. Now, if you read the New Testament, they preach like Jesus is coming back any time. They honestly didn't know when Jesus was coming back. They thought it could be in their lifetime, or it could not be. It could be 2,000 years later. They didn't know. And quite honestly, we don't know either. We don't know when Christ is going to return. But after the apostles, let's skip 2,000 years and let's go to modern day today. Christ hasn't returned yet. And let's look at us modern day Christians. We go to church on Sunday mornings, and we feel pretty good about ourselves. But then there's those dedicated Christians. You'll know who I'm talking about. Those who come on Sunday night, Wednesday night, Sunday school. They all come to church a lot. They don't miss anything. They come to small group. They even listen to stuff on the radio, Christian music, and they read their Bibles. You know, the real dedicated Christians, all right? There's those people. And I can't help to ask myself, what do we Christians do the rest of the week when we're not in church, when we're not dedicated? What do we do the rest of the week? Maybe ask yourself that. Do you live your life like Christ could return anytime? And I don't know when Jesus is going to return. You don't know either. It could just happen tomorrow. It could happen before I get done live streaming. We don't know. Now, this is where our imaginary caps come on, all right? So I want to put on your imaginary cap. Imagine now if God appeared to you and God told you when Christ would return. How would your life change? So let me ask that again. If God told you when Christ would return, how would your life change? Would you start coming to church more often? Would you tell your friends about Jesus? Or would you tell your family about Jesus? Or maybe it'd be nicer to the more difficult classmates in your class, the ones who aren't real nice, not easy to get along with because you know they don't believe in Jesus. Just imagine how much different your life would be. Imagine how different it would be if you knew exactly the day, the moment when Jesus would return to judge the world. How different would your life be? So let's return back to Exodus, the story of Moses here. Moses was doubting God's plan. He was doubting that he was the instrument for God to use to get the Hebrews free from the Egyptians. And God responded to Moses saying, this is my own words, this isn't directly from the Bible, this is Alex's recap. God says to Moses, I kept my promises to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. I've heard the Hebrews groaning under the rule of Egypt, and now I'm fulfilling my promise and making a nation out of them. Moses, you are the man for the job. So let that sink in for a moment. Imagine how Moses feels at that moment. God telling him, you are the man for the job. The time has come for all these prophecies and all your childhood stories to finally come to an end, and you are the one to fulfill it. I can't imagine how Moses feels. But as we continue reading through Exodus, we're going to see that God fulfills all of his promises. The Hebrews are free from Egypt, and they become a great nation. And we know that because, well, there's still Jews here today. They became a nation, they were a religion, and we see that God fulfilled that promise. And just like in times past, God fulfills all of his promises. We can read the Bible and we see all the promises of Jesus, the Messiah, and how Jesus fulfills it all. And there's still promises to be filled. And I believe that Jesus is going to come and return to judge the world. And I hope that you all are ready for that time. I hope it's also a time that you look forward to with joy, not with dread or regret or uncertainty. It can definitely be a scary time if you're uncertain. But I don't want anyone to feel that way. And if you're kind of uncertain in your faith, maybe you don't know who Jesus is, maybe you haven't been baptized, I want you guys to have the opportunity to get a hold of me, to call me. You can call or text me, and maybe we can talk. Maybe we can figure some things out. Who knows? I'll do the best that I can. But if you want to do that, my number is 573-837-8815. Call or text me at any time, and let's do our best to try to answer your questions. So thank you for joining in with me. I know it's a little different doing audio only, but this is the way that we're going to have to do it since YouTube wants to keep on flagging my face. So I'm hoping my voice isn't copyrighted, and I hope I get to continue studying Exodus with you all next week. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody Sunday morning for worship on May 10th. Again, that is on May 10th, not this Sunday, but the Sunday afterwards. We'll have Sunday morning, and everyone will be able to sit with their families. We have the FLC all sectioned off with 6 feet apart rows from everybody. And there's also the original auditorium open. If you don't feel comfortable being in a space in the FLC with more people, the original auditorium will be available. We'll also have social distancing there. But that's great news that we can finally meet. But unfortunately, we're not going to be able to have any youth group or youth gatherings because of the social distancing. And, well, it's a step in the right process, and hopefully one day we'll be able to get back into routine. Well, thank you all for coming in and listening, and I hope that you all have the good rest of your week. See you all.